Dragons. A dragon is a large, serpentine, legendary creature that appears in the folklore of many cultures worldwide. In Minecraft, the only type of dragon there is the Ender Dragon, but I wanted to add more. So, with the Dragon Mounts Legacy mod, I did just that, and added my own dragons into Minecraft. Dragons that I could ride, tame, breed, and fight with. In this video, I attempt to survive 100 days of hardcore amplified Minecraft with the help of my own flying reptilian beasts. My major goals were to help my dragons defeat the tyrants of their world, their tyrannical queen, the Ender Dragon, and the Wither, who had long oppressed them. This was insanely fun to record, and insanely fun to play, so I hope you guys will enjoy watching it. Please sit back and relax as I tell the tale of how I survived 100 days in hardcore Minecraft with dragons. Also, if you haven't noticed, this is the first new video on this channel, so if you'd like to subscribe, please do so. It's completely free, and you can always unsubscribe later. Enjoy the video! My journey started off as a modest one. I selected Amplified as my world setting, which would make flying around on dragons much more convenient and fun, as well as making the game extremely dangerous. All it would take was for me to slip off a cliff, and that cliff could be hundreds of blocks high. As I spawned in, I took my surroundings. I was immediately blessed with bamboo, and I began by looking around. Even though this mod had dragons, they did not spawn naturally in the world like other animals. In order to get them, I would need to find dragon eggs located within certain chests. One of these chests was a jungle temple chest. So I began my journey by seeing if any jungle temples were nearby, and just like that, I spotted one. After disabling the chests, I looted the chest in 2 by the light. I was blessed with a forest dragon egg. And diamonds as well, of course, you know. This egg, once placed, would begin to hatch into a little baby green dragon. But I wasn't ready for that yet. I needed to make sure I could take care of myself before I brought an entire dragon into the picture, you know. So, for the remainder of that day, I searched the amplified terrain looking for a place to call home. I gathered wood, food, upgraded my tools, and slayed many animals. Eventually, the night came, and I spent it resting in a sleeping bag out in the middle of an open plain, with no location nor structure to call home. The first nights are always the roughest. After a long journey, I finally found a place that looked rather decent, a little cove surrounded by massive cliffs. The lake would supply a steady source of fish, which was good for me because food was hard to come by in such harsh conditions, and whenever my dragons would hatch, I needed fish to tame them. Otherwise, they would just wander my land, killing every animal in sight. Once I had settled down, I chose a random spot in the wall and began to dig downwards. I wanted armor ASAP, so I figured a few days in the mines would suffice. Once back to the surface, I began to make this place my own by building the first structure of this world. For the next few days, I finally began the process of hatching my first dragon egg. The hatching process is a long and tedious one, so I'll break it down for you. When you place the egg, you must right-click it to start the hatching process. After a total of 10 minutes, the egg disappears and is replaced by an adorable baby dragon. Then, that dragon takes a total of 2 full Minecraft days to hatch. So, from start to finish, it takes nearly an hour just to make one dragon. So while this dragon was being born, I preoccupied myself by going back into the mines and hunting for food. Finally, the baby dragon hatched, and I tamed the first ever dragon to inhabit this world. The first dragon of many. After the dragon hatched, I needed to wait 40 minutes until I could ride it. So, I headed back down to the mines to pass the time. On this trip, I managed to get enough diamonds to cover myself with them. Once I made it back to the surface, my dragon had grown up into a majestic forest green flying machine. I threw a saddle on him, and for the first time ever, I flew a dragon in Minecraft. Not a minute later, I located an ocean very close by, as well as getting a general idea of what the land around me truly looked like. This experience was unlike any other, that's for sure. Once I decided to return home, I spent a little time creating a basic bridge across the lake. I wanted to explore more of my world, so I mounted my forest dragon once again and took to the skies. I flew far and wide, not looking for anything in particular. Honestly, it was just kind of therapeutic to fly around the world on a massive green beast. Is that weird? On my journey, I did manage to find a village, but other than that, it was just a casual Sunday drive. Or flight, I guess. Once I returned home, I wanted to begin working on the cow farm, but the problem with amplified worlds is that they are very hard to navigate on foot, especially if you are trying to lure cows back home with you. I'm not lying when I say that luring these cows back took over an hour. I now officially hate cows. Jahida would be proud. It was nether time. Gathering my balls and my wits, I used obsidian I had collected in the mines to construct a portal just outside my house. I knew from experience that the nether was especially dangerous in hardcore mode, but I actually had a plan for this journey. My main goal wasn't blaze rods or ender pearls, not even mining for netherite or quartz. Not yet. My first goal was to try and trade with piglins for leather. Bringing cows back for leather was one thing, but I needed to speed up the process. Thankfully, I was blessed and cursed with the Crimson Forest as my nether spawn. Blessed because of the piglins, cursed because of the hoglins. I probably don't have to explain why. On my search to find gold for the piggies, I encountered a bastion and attempted to loot it. After looting the bastion, I traded all the gold in hopes of leather trades. After all the gold was gone, I returned to the overworld and began the construction of a road that would eventually go to where I would put all of my dragons. For the next few days, I built the place where my dragons would eventually reside. It was rather makeshift, but it was still nice. It was just a small little platform underneath the caves. While building, I continued to breed cows. After spending so long around my house, I decided to return back to the nether. Now it was time for netherite. In hardcore, your goal is to become as powerful as possible as soon as possible. I didn't have a source of TNT or beds, so I did it the classic way. Mining. In summary, I went through 2 entire diamond pickaxes to get enough debris for full armor and a pickaxe. Time to get an achievement, you know? Cover me in debris. I love the look of unenchanted netherite, and I hate the look of enchanted netherite, so should I just stay unenchanted? I could probably survive. Just the boots, you know? Get some feather falling on the boots. I was tired of seeing the color red for a while though, so I decided to return to the overworld and go on an adventure. This adventure, however, ended up taking a turn for the worst. Mounting forest once again, I began to fly in search of desert temples. I wanted at least one golden apple in this world for future endeavors, and I knew that I would have to search far and wide for them. After flying for quite some time, I stumbled across something I have never seen before in Minecraft. Okay, this will be the first time, I think, that I've ever seen a amplified mesa. Oh my god. Oh, what? I have never seen an amplified mesa. Oh my god, what is this? Hold on, I can't even get a good view. What? Oh my god, that's amazing. My god, look at this overhang. It's just stone. Like, this is literally a 1.17 cave. Jesus. After flying even farther away from home, I found my first desert of the world. And in this desert, I found something so rare, it was probably only 0.0001% chance. That's a TikTok meme. A floating fossil. Oh, what the heck? Oh, what the heck is that? I know what it is, but what is it doing up here? Hold on. Okay. After exploring the desert and not finding anything, I should have taken this as a sign to start returning home, but I didn't. Foolishly, I went even further, and eventually I encountered a shipwreck on the coast of a sandy shore. And this is where I learned the hard way that dragons can't swim. As soon as his feet touched the water, I lost all control of Forrest. He began to sink to the bottom of the ocean, making no effort to swim upwards. I knew it was up to me to save him. First, I tried a fishing rod to try and pull Forrest out of the ocean, but the rod wouldn't connect. Then, I tried to craft doors to make an air pocket, but I could see in Forrest's eyes that he knew his time was up. There was nothing I could do as I watched Forrest, my first dragon, drown before my eyes, losing the will to live like Atreyu in the quicksand. With one last painful red flash, Forrest disintegrated in front of my eyes. My first dragon was dead. After mourning the loss of such a magnificent creature, I realized that I might not make it out of this situation either. I was thousands of blocks from home at this point, stranded on a lowly desert island with no ride. So, I gathered my strength and began to think. I followed a treasure map to a more desirable island, an island with a zombie spawner just underneath the sand. Then, I heard it. The sound of death to some, the sound of salvation to me. Lava. Traveling thousands of blocks in the overworld was dangerous, perhaps too dangerous on Amplified. But the Nether was a different story. While still dangerous, the trip would be much shorter, since 1 block in the Nether is 8 blocks in the overworld. So, I used the lava to create a portal, and immediately was greeted by a spawn any speedrunner would have adored, right on top of a Nether fortress. I used this opportunity to collect blaze rods, and once I had enough, I began the treacherous journey back home. Ow. We gotta go quite a ways, I think. Now, my biggest issue right now is my pickaxe durability. I wasn't expecting to have to mine. Yes. Did I just find my way back? Cobblestone. We made it back! Once I made it out, I relished in the fact that I was alive. And although Forrest's life had come to an end, our journey did yield another Forest Dragon Egg, so I knew his spirit would live on, in one way or another. Bro, I need to calm down, it's just a Minecraft pet. While the new Forest Dragon was hatching and growing up, I preoccupied myself by gathering more wood and mining in the depths of the Nether for more XP. Honestly, I have no idea why this took up 5 days, but it did. What are you gonna do? I wanted to create a basic trading hall for things like mending books, unbreaking, and whatever else was useful from villagers. The first step was to find a village close by, which I did with the help of my new forest dragon, Forrest II. Once I found the village, I linked it up via the Nether and began construction of a very basic trading hall. And next, it was time to get the villagers inside, which I did with beds and workstations. If you guys don't know, this is actually a pretty good way to transport villagers. They can pathfind to a workstation from pretty much anywhere. Once inside, I used the zombie along with weakness potions and golden apples to infect and cure my new villagers, giving me better trades. You've all seen this before, you know what's up. The next week was a time for progression. Not only did I abuse the hell out of the villagers to give myself everything I needed for my gear, I also set out on an adventure to look for a second dragon egg. Like any animal in Minecraft, you can breed dragons. So, as soon as I had 2, I could breed as many as I wanted. My journey took me far and wide, and thankfully I didn't lose Forrest II like I had on my first big adventure. I knew that probably the best way to find an egg was to use a buried treasure map to locate a buried treasure. These had a chance of giving a water dragon egg, a dragon that, unlike all the other breeds, could be controlled underwater. Eventually, after many days of searching, I found the egg I was looking for. Yes! There's our next dragon egg. Oh my god. Yes. Okay. Also, apparently Forrest II wanted to stay as far away from the water as possible, as he should, making this part of the journey particularly annoying. Bruh. Okay, I found it. At least he's not dead. Now that I was home, I knew that things would slow down a bit. Like I've said before, the hatching process takes forever, so I needed to do something to pass the time. So, after beginning to hatch the new water dragon, I began the construction of a new building which would eventually become my storage room. While this was taking place, I began breeding our two new dragons together. This process gave me more eggs, which for now I would bring to the top of the world to hatch. Why bring them to the top of the world? Well, these eggs could change their type depending on the blocks around them or their height. Bringing the eggs up here at the top of the world would convert them to aether dragons, which was the fastest of all the breeds. As the days continued on, the number of dragons in my arsenal was increasing greatly. They all started speaking of how they wanted to defeat the tyrants of their world, and I knew I had to provide them with this request. After hatching the aethers, it was time to begin planning for the final confrontation, the Ender Dragon and Wither fights. I made a pilgrimage to the Nether where I spent multiple days trading gold for ender pearls, and thankfully I had managed to collect blaze rods during the adventure that killed Forrest. R.I.P. After I had enough ender pearls, I returned home once again. While my aethers were growing up, I went on another little adventure. On this journey, I discovered yet another biome, which I had never seen before in Amplified. What the hell? Is this ice spikes or ice chains? Oh my god! Amplified ice spikes is crazy looking. What the hell is going on here? I've been looking for saddles, and I find this. What the hell? After returning home, I saddled up the new aether dragon, who would eventually become known as Bedrock Breaker. I'll explain later, but now it was time for a test flight. All the dragons before this had flown around 10 blocks per second, but the aethers were twice as fast, traveling an amazing 20 blocks per second. That's almost as fast as an elytra, like what? Before I went to beat the game, I wanted to build at least one more structure. So, I decided to make a place to put my enchanting table. Up to this point, it had just been sitting in my attic, not getting the respect it deserved. So, I created a structure that would house it. Resting on top of a mountain, I constructed the majestic Wizard's Tower. Now it was time to finally get out there. Using my Eyes of Ender, I slowly located the stronghold. Of course it was under a mountain right next to an ocean. Why wouldn't it just be in the ocean? But in all fairness, it wasn't even a minute away via Dragonflight. After locating the portal room, I realized that if I was going to have any luck getting my dragons into the end, I would need to physically make them a path. And unfortunately for me, they aren't small. So, I spent even more days just digging out a wide tunnel with the idea that I could just bring the dragons here and have them walk down with me. But after that was done, I needed to actually bring the dragons, which ended up not going so well. It was now time to see if I could really do this. My goal was to bring all the dragons to the end and have an epic battle. But unfortunately, many of the dragons didn't seem to want to cooperate. Or I just simply wasn't sure how to get them to follow me without bugging out. Their AI is kind of messed up, you see. It seems that if they aren't standing on a large, flat piece of land, they'll start flying, and in most cases, fly off into the sky and spin around in the air as if they were drunk. So my transport process did not go to plan, and I figured that I didn't have time to transport all of them separately. So, I ended up bringing the Aether Dragon, which had become my new favorite dragon due to its speed. Sorry, Forrest II. After getting him into the stronghold, I sent him into the end first, because he wouldn't follow me in. I took a deep breath, prepared myself mentally, and jumped in after him. The first thing that happened was that we spawned underground, but thankfully, the dragons teleport to you like most other Minecraft pets, so I didn't have to dig him out. Once we were both out, I could see the fear in the Ender Dragon's eyes as she realized that one of her own kind had actually come to kill her. And with that, the two of us took to the skies. The first thing we had to do was take out the crystals, which was actually just as tough as it would have been without a dragon. After taking out the final cage crystal, I began shooting at the Ender Dragon without mercy. She was a tyrant to all other dragons in this world after all, lacking both sympathy and mercy for those beneath her. This battle wasn't exactly easy. I didn't just have to protect myself, I had to make sure I didn't get too close to the dragon, for if I did, my own dragon would attempt to kill her and would most likely die. So I had to jump off my own dragon to save his life. After shooting many arrows and dodging many attacks, the Ender Dragon knew her time had come at last. With one final cry, she ascended above her perch and disintegrated in a great fireball of brilliant purple and white light. The Ender Dragon, the tyrannical queen of all other dragons of this world, was dead. Now, it was time to raid the End Islands. Instead of trying to get my dragon into a tiny bedrock portal, I just flew the distance to get there instead. Flying through the end on a dragon really was something else. An experience I'd highly recommend. It's not just like flying an elytra, people, alright? I know many of you will say that. After raiding many end cities and of course getting an elytra, I flew back on day 84 and realized something. My dragon was too big to fit through the end portal. This guy can't return home with us. The portal's not big enough. The portal's not big enough. No. Right? Oh no, it's not big enough. There were only two options. One, abandon or kill my aether dragon here, or somehow make the end portal accessible for my dragon. I'm nothing if not loyal, and this dragon and I had done a lot in our time together. I wasn't about to abandon him here. So, over the next 2 days, I did the only thing I could think of, something I never thought in a million years I would be doing in a hardcore playthrough. Breaking the bedrock of the end portal, the thing that gave this dragon its name. Yes! It worked! That works! Finally, after many fails, I broke enough bedrock to allow Bedrock Breaker through. Yes! We can save him! Minecraft can still create new and intense situations, which is why I truly love this game. It's never ending. Like, what other game would make me have to do something like this? However, even after managing to get Bedrock Breaker back to the overworld, I had to go and find him. He wouldn't just respawn at my house. He would be at True Spawn, the jungle where I started this journey. So, using my new elytra and a few fireworks, I flew back towards that jungle, hoping to see just a slight hint of blue amongst the green foliage. And sure enough, I did. I see it! Haha! Look at that! We found him! We found him! Is this 0-0? No, it's nowhere near 0-0. Hey! Awesome! Now, the Ender Dragon, of course, wasn't the only tyrannical entity this world had. The Wither also needed to be dealt with. The Wither was far more dangerous than the Ender Dragon, and required much more preparation. So, with the help of a Nether Dragon, I searched far and wide for a good fortress. Unfortunately, this took much longer than expected, almost a week in fact, mainly because I didn't have looting for most of it. But finally, I had all 3 skulls. There was just one thing left to do, and this time I was going to do it right. Gathering my balls, wits, and dragons, I headed out to a decent location to do this Wither fight. Transporting my dragons there was tedious, and I knew that I would probably lose many dragons during this battle, but I could tell by looking in their eyes that they were determined to take down this monster. And even if all of them died, their children, whom I had been raising back home as a new generation, would live on, driven by the sacrifices their parents made to keep them safe. But hopefully it wouldn't come to that. At long last, I gathered my dragons in one spot and placed the skulls onto the soul sand, spawning in the Wither. Now it was time to see what our dragons were really made of. The Wither spawned in with an explosion that shook the land and took to the skies. I unfortunately couldn't shoot it right away because I would hit my dragons, and because of this, I lost a dragon right away. However, once I finally hit it, all of my dragons became aggro, just like wolves. They began to surround the Wither, slowly eating away at its health anytime they could get close enough. The plan was to get it into melee mode and have my dragons finish it off. But unfortunately, the Wither was doing just as much damage to us as we were to it, and more dragons disintegrated to dust. The battle was intense, but once the Wither was in melee mode, my remaining dragons fought with me to defeat it. As the Wither died, I looked around to see that almost none of my dragons had survived. The Wither had proven a worthy adversary. As I looked around, I realized that Forest II and Bedrock Breaker had perished along with the rest. But their deaths were not in vain. The beacon, which our victory had gotten us, would serve as a tribute to the fallen dragons. At the end of the day, I created gravestones for the fallen dragons to forever commemorate them. And finally, the last few days have arrived. From day 94 to 100, I spent time tidying up my area. It was quite messy and incomplete, and I wanted to live in an area I could be proud of. I started off by transporting my items into my storage room. I built the storage room so long ago and never used it until now. That's pretty typical of me. After doing that, I revamped my starter house to make it look actually cozy, rather than a simple house where I could just store my stuff. I really like the look of it now. I added pathways, connecting most of my base together. The final thing I did was test fly the latest dragons, which were actually descendants of the original Ender Dragon, because I collected its egg after killing it. As day 100 came to an end, I crawled under my bed sheets for the last time in this 100 days, feeling proud of what we had accomplished. I'd say that this 100 days was a complete success. And if you made it to the end of this video, you are a complete success. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed creating it. If you guys want more, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, of course. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.